Welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. I'm Rick Plaskett, a certified business and leadership coach here in Columbus, Ohio. Today, I have as my guest Mark Whitman. He is the owner of TeamBuilder Search. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about his business, the business challenges, his best practices, and share with you a peek into what it's really like to build and operate a business. If this is your first time, please, the drill here. This first time on your channel, hit the like button and the subscribe button. It connects you faster with us in the future. Mark, welcome today, and thank you for being here.
Hi, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Super. Hey, listen, would you please share a little bit about who you are? Because I know you have this incredible journey, and the wall behind you just is a mere glimpse into it. But give us a little bit of a background into what that journey is, and tell us a little bit more about your business and where you are today.
Great. Well, thanks, Rick. Yeah, I have definitely a personal journey and a business journey we can discuss. So when I was 12 years old, I was diagnosed with a disease called ankylosing spondylitis, and it's a sister disease to rheumatoid. It attacks your spine, your hips, your eyes, your lungs. And at the age of 28, I was told I'd be disabled by the time I was 34. And so that's not the news you want to hear, obviously, as a 28-year-old. Got a newsletter in the mail from the Ankylosing Spondylitis Foundation, member paper newsletters. We used to get those. And it said that people become disabled because they become couch potatoes. And they become couch potatoes because of the pain. So once you stop moving, the disease starts to eat you up. And so I just made a pact with myself that I was never going to stop moving. By the time I was, and that lasted till the time I was about 44 years of age. And I just couldn't see myself making it to 50. For reference, I'm 59 years old now. And I started, I was looking for an office, found by accident this Gracie Jiu-Jitsu mixed martial arts studio. I had been watching the UFC and had just found that to be the most interesting challenge that I think a person could take on. And so I limped in there, started a journey in sports jiu-jitsu, combat jiu-jitsu, and couldn't even go to class when we started. My body was too broken, so I had to go to private lessons. And from there, I just kept going. And over the course of the next 6 years, God just healed my body through jiu-jitsu. And at the age of 52, I had the opportunity to represent the United States in the World Championships, which was just a journey I can't even describe. It was such an amazing opportunity to go do that. And I did that as a 52-year-old in the 40 and over division. And so, and I placed second in the world. That's my silver medal from the World Championships that were held in Australia that year. And so that's not unlike my that's not unlike being an entrepreneur in general. You have a lot of hardship as an entrepreneur. It takes a lot of grit and perseverance as an entrepreneur to keep moving forward, no matter the obstacles. In my current business, I started off in the corporate side of the world. I worked for three multi-billion-dollar corporations, and then got into emerging technology with the dot-com boom back then, just before the dot-com crash. And I was with an emerging technology company, helping them build out their offering and get to market. And from there, I became an entrepreneur, and I owned a digital marketing agency and had that for 7 years, was really blessed with that. Sold that back in 2007 and started this company in 2008. And in this company, we're recruiting. We're an executive search firm. And I started this company because as an agency owner, I had really been disappointed with recruiters. They didn't understand the digital marketing space. But a bigger problem for me, Rick, was that it always felt like they were selling me candidates and selling me candidates and selling candidates my job jobs instead of really helping us get to the right fit. And so I saw an opportunity in the marketplace to do things differently, and I started TeamBuilder Search as an executive search firm focused in digital marketing. I started as a life improvement endeavor, right? So we're here to help people improve their lives through their careers, whether that is um, a candidate that we're helping get to their next job, or hiring managers trying to get the right people in the right seats. We're here to help those people improve their lives through their business success. And so been doing that since 2008. 2017, we were the eighth fastest growing company in the HR industry in the United States. And so we were really blessed with a lot of success. Now, since that time, things have changed. I'm in the fourth quarter of my career, and and having a second growth business was great, but it wasn't just something I was into anymore. And so I've redesigned the company to make it a much smaller organization. I have a very small team now. We're very particular on who we work with, and yeah. So I think that kind of brings us up to date. Is that what you were hoping for?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a lifetime of experience, and you're still going. So help us out. Where are you? What role do you play in today in your business? You said you've downsized, you've got a small team. So what's your role today?
Yeah, that's great. So there's a great way to develop a job description as a as an entrepreneur, and that is to take everything you don't want to do and everything you're not that good at, write it down, and that becomes a job description for who you need to hire. And so I have a couple assistants that basically that's what they do. It's all the stuff that I am not that I don't excel at, and that things that I don't want to do. So it allows me to do the things that I'm best at and things that are what I can bring the most value to the company. And so I spend most of my time with senior executives, interviewing them, qualifying them for roles, working directly with clients, helping them get to the right job specification. We go through a very robust process with our clients in that um, we see the deficiencies with job descriptions, right? They can be just a laundry list of things, a wish list. And so we take that, we have an ideal candidate blueprint process that we've developed that focuses on outcomes. So with my client, I dig into for each role, dig into, hey, what are the three biggest outcomes that that this person is going to need to accomplish to be successful in that role? How are we going to measure those outcomes for success? What are the skills and competencies and experiences that they're going to need in order to obtain those success measures? What are the most critical communications this person is going to have on a regular basis? What is the most critical communications that this person is going to have on a periodic basis? We do a pre-mortem, even that, if let's step into the future and say this person has failed, and work backwards. Why would you believe that this person would have failed? And so we can look at things that could be disablers of success, and address those before they happen. And so I spend a lot of time with clients building out their ideal candidate blueprint, and then spending time setting up the sourcing plan that my assistants and my team execute. And then I spend my time with the people that are interviewing for those roles, so I can qualify them in or out for the roles that we're looking to fill. I also do business development for the company as well, is another thing that I take on, as well as I have somebody that handles the accounting, but oversee the finances as well. Yeah.
How would you define what percentage of time do you spend with that first part in the business, working with the clients and the candidates, versus the percentage of time you work on the business with your strategy, your planning, and your future vision?
Yeah, I probably could get in better balance there, but I probably spend about 75% of my time in the business and 25% of my time on the business.
I'm curious, why do you bring up that would be a need for a better balance?
Well, it goes back to the E-Myth, right? The bestseller book. Gosh, I'm not even sure when that came out now, but but it talks very much about that's a big challenge for entrepreneurs. We get pulled into the day-to-day of the business, and therefore we're not working on the bigger things about the business and where we're headed and how we're going to get there. And so I've always found that a challenge. It's good to keep aware of it, as so you can constantly challenge yourself to be working on the business. Um, but yeah, I'd love to be working on the business half the time instead of three quarters of the time. Get that
Okay.
into a better
Okay.
50-50 balance. Yeah.
Um, I guess you brought me to the next question I had, and it just popped into my head. Is that desire to have a more balanced approach? Is that focused on, as to use your words, fourth quarter of this current business, or would that be looking at the next game, the next season that is post fourth quarter? I guess the simple way of summing that up is, are you looking at finishing up this business, or are you looking at the exit strategy and what could be next?
Yeah, that's a great question, and both of those things come into working on the business. I probably spend maybe 10% of the time looking forward as far as what's next, um, and 15% of the time working on the business, the current business. Yeah.
And you express a desire to balance that out. Is that something that eats at you, that causes you to either self-evaluate or maybe even lose sleep or lose focus?
I wouldn't say I lose sleep over it, but it's something that I'm constantly aware of, that
Okay.
hey, I can do better in this area. And by keeping it on my radar like that, it at least allows me to do it, focus and get to it 25% of the time instead of none of the time, which is, I
Mhm.
think, unfortunately what happens to so many entrepreneurs is they spend all the time working in the business and exhausting themselves and getting to
Mhm.
burnout.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
So if I could continue to dive in on that, because I think that's a really valid self-evaluation, and something that we all do suffer with, is we get inside, we can't see the forest for the trees. And future planning is something we'll do next week, next month, next year. Right now, I've got this that I'm focused on. Where do you see your business? Where do you see yourself, Mark, in 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm certainly not not 100% sure where I end up in 3 to 5 years, but what I know about the business is we're not focused on revenue growth anymore, right? That's not a goal. So our goal is quality, and so we're focused on becoming better at what we do every day. Um, and that fits my personality. I'm a maximizer personality, so that allows me to do what I'd like to do, is make things better. Um, and so focusing on making things better, and focusing on, our real growth that we're after is quality, not quantity, um, is where we're currently at in the business.
And so I'm sorry, but you really got my interest here, Mark. Um, when you look at goal setting, you brought up the E myth, and
Hmm.
then you said your focus is on a better way, and the focus is on quality. How do you set goals around that quality growth and improvement?
Yeah, that's another great question. So when I became an entrepreneur, I went to back to school through SCORE. I think it was SCORE, and I spent um, I think it was 6 weeks learning how to build a business plan, right? Because it's different being an entrepreneur than working for a big company. Even though if you had a big job managing a lot of people and a lot of budget, it's still different, because you have the whole P&L now, and if the toilet breaks, that's your problem too. And so I spent all this time learning how to build this 5-year business plan, and came back to in the business and implemented it and realized, hey, it just doesn't work. the business is moving too fast for a 5-year business plan anymore. And so found a book called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits, which is all about, making sure you turn um, the noun plan into a verb planning, right? That we should be doing planning and not plans. And so that got me focused on 90-day plans and having, 3 to 5 big rocks each quarter that you focus on, so you don't get lost too far down in the business, and that you're working on the business each quarter. And so you do have a 5-year kind of vision of where you want to be typically, but you really want to be focused on the next 90 days and what you need to do to be successful. Does that help? Does that
Oh,
answer your question?
absolutely, Mark. I love it. Talking about the E Myth and the Rockefeller habits, and I'm just sitting here smiling because my approach to that was a little different. My background, I started at West Point, and so I've got the military side of that, and everything that you said, we learned. We would spend hours and hours and hours developing a battle operations order, only to recognize that the minute we started the engine, the minute we took off from the ground, the minute the first bullet flew, the whole plan goes out the window. And I love the way you said it. It's not the noun plan, it's the verb planning, because we got to know, and it took me a while, it took me probably 2 ranks in the military to start to realize that it was the act of going through that planning so that the lowest of your soldiers knew exactly what needed to be done for them to stay alive and be successful in that ultimate objective. And so the objective in the military was at 5 years, what did we want to be? And it helped them to be able to know what to do. And what we called today in business, it's change management. We had another term for that. It was called the fog of war. When everything just goes upside down and nothing goes to plan, it was the act of planning, rehearsing, practicing that at least allowed us to all of a sudden come back together and go through all of the unforeseen. So absolutely. Um, I like to also say most of us today, when we get in the car and drive someplace we don't know where we're going, we're going to turn on an app, whether it's Waze or Google Maps or whatever. We're going to turn on something that's going to guide us. We may decide, no, we don't want to get off at that exit, or we want to ignore it. But ultimately, that plan goes into recalculating to get us to the destination that we want. And I asked about 3 to 5 years because if we don't at least have the idea of where and what we want that to look like, then Mother Nature comes in, natural courses, and all of a sudden we're doing nothing more than responding. So you and I have the same approach, 90-day approaches. I like to focus on those 90-day approaches are because we want to achieve something. I liken it to football. The ultimate goal is to win the game, to have the W next to your name at the end of that game. The 90-day plans becomes your game plan for each quarter, and it may adjust during the game, but the ultimate objective is to win that game and then be prepared for the next one. Love your philosophy there. You do intrigue me, Mark, and that's not for this interview. That'll be for another time. Of what does the next chapter look like for you? I know what you have shared in the way of your personal and health challenges, but I don't see you in the fourth quarter without developing what does the next chapter, the next game in your life look like. And I'm kind of curious and interested in that. So listen, when we look at the future, the future involves other people. And I love the way you have shared with the audience so far that you did run big, now you're running lean, and now you're focused on the quality and doing things just a little better. Uh, Tell me a little bit about your leadership style with your smaller team now.
Yeah, I've always been very much a servant leader. I've always had my hands in the business, walking alongside the people on my team. And but probably now, Rick, something I do better than I used to do is delegate. It took me a long time to really learn to delegate well, and then just to trust people, hire smart people and then trust them to do what it is they need to do once you equip them to do it. And so it's definitely a servant leader that's learned to delegate better. I'd say in the last 10 years, yeah.
Super. Listen, I know personally as I hit that magic 6-0, there seems to be a change, and I love the way you shared your job descriptions are a listing and a description of the things you don't want to do. I find that when I hit that magic 60-year mark, that list increased. So I wonder as you get close to that, um, are there leaders within your organization that are developing on your team to take over that added list that I know you're going to be thinking about?
Yeah, that's another great question. And currently, there's a pretty big gap between folks on my team doing what they do and me doing what I do. And so I need to close that gap if I'm going to give away more stuff. And so I'm probably a year and a half away from being able to close that gap and give away more things that perhaps I'll because it's true. You get the older you get, the more focused you get on, hey, there are things I want to do and things that I'm good at. And I understand that's where I should be. That's where my energy comes from. That's where my value and input, value output comes from. And then there's things that there's other people that's better qualified to do, and things that I don't like to do. Maybe it's not that I'm not good at it. It's just I can do it, but I don't like to do it. And so um, that's a great opportunity to delegate to other folks that are good at doing it and will derive value from doing it.
At one point, I lived in Atlanta, and Chick-fil-A headquarters is headquartered there. And I got a chance to go on a tour of their headquarters. And being a business coach, I used that opportunity to do a business field trip with many of my clients. And we went, and I learned that the tour guides were mandated as part of their job description to answer any questions that we had. And if they couldn't answer it, they were supposed to find it before the end of the tour. One of my clients asked them, what do they contribute their success in hiring to be? Because everybody seems happy at the stores, everybody seemed happy at the headquarters there. And we ended up having Dan Cathy tell us Chick-fil-A hired on three things: character first, chemistry second, and then their ability. So I want to ask you, Mark, in your team right now, do they have the character and the chemistry to be able to close that gap? Because if they do, then closing is nothing more than putting together a training program. But sometimes that's kind of hard to assess. What would your assessment of your team be?
Yeah, I think they do have the character, they have the attributes, they have the desire, and so those are all good things. So I think we have the raw materials that go into the recipe to make, to bake the cake that we want to bake, and so that does make you feel good that you're not missing those. Yeah, because I'm a big believer in hiring on attributes and character and values, and if you get those things right, then it's you can learn to do the job. As a matter of fact, my dad told me one time, he said, um, "Son, if you're ready for a job, don't take it. Take a job you're not ready for." And I've always thought about that wisdom that he gave me.
So I'm curious, as you look at that small percentage that you use going forward, maybe that percentage of visioning outside of the next 90 days, could it require you to become Mr. Miyagi and teaching the others the art that you have learned inside of the job to take over for you?
Yes, absolutely.
And I ask that because it's another lesson that I have learned through the ages is it's one thing to learn the job, it's another thing to learn to teach the job or to teach the skill. And that second one's, for me anyhow, was much harder than the first. Doing doing it is one thing. Teaching it is something completely different.
It is very different, and it allows you have to let go of a lot of control. Is the first thing that I learned, right? Because I want to control things too much, and you just can't do that. You don't. There's not time to control over control things, and so. Um, but yeah, so for me, it started with that, and realizing that I needed to control less things and give away more things to other people.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
equip,
Thank you so much.
but yeah, but to what you're saying too, they have to be equipped to be successful. You can't just give them, you can't just say, hey, here, do this and expect them to be successful. You have to let them see you do it and do it with them, and then watch them do it and then let them do it.
One of the biggest challenges I had in learning to teach was everything that you just said, Mark, and then adding to it, ensuring that the first couple of times that they tried something new, they were successful. That I created an environment of success, because if they fail, it becomes much harder to get them to that next level. If they succeed, then they like what they're doing and they want to do it even more. And then it's so much easier. It's almost like training a dog. If they like the fact that they're getting a treat for doing something new, they're going to want to do it more and more. So, and that's hard. That is, for me anyhow, it continues to be something that I have to consciously focus on is, okay, how do I create an environment in which they can succeed? Super. Well, hey, Mark, thank you so much. Listen, we've certainly covered an awful lot of ground today. And for those of you that are watching, I highly encourage you to save this and go back. Mark has shared some serious golden nuggets here, and I think they're worth at least a second look, if not a third look. So listen, as we wrap this up, I like to hit a section called rapid fire questions. This is where I want to, all I'm looking for, Mark, what's top of mind? One or two words, what's top of mind? You ready? There's only about 4 or 5 questions.
Okay, okay, I'm
So,
ready.
first question, what would you say your key to success is?
Perseverance.
Super. What's one
Yeah.
piece of advice that you would give to other business owners?
I would say don't do it alone. Whether it's a business coach, whether it's an advisory board, whether it's a group of peers like a mastermind group of other entrepreneurs. Being an entrepreneur is different than having a big job in a big company. It's different, and so you need to be with people that have the same journey you have, and you can share and add value to, and they can add value to you as well. So sorry that was a little long.
Oh, I love it. It's golden words of wisdom. What's one book that you're reading now or you've read recently?
I've been reading Practicing the Way, and it's really about maturing your faith. And because I believe that it's faith, family before business. And if you get those two things right, then the business will be right. But if you miss on those first two things, then it's going to be very difficult to recover and have the relationship with your wife, with your children that you really want. And yeah, so Practicing the Way, great book.
Super. I like to look at that as Simon Sinek says, start with why. And God and family is my why. It's many people's why as well. If you had one area of your business that you could choose to absolutely immediately improve tomorrow morning, it would be completely better than it is right now. What would that one area be?
That's probably always going to be business development, because business development can always get better. Right down to, making sure you're spending your time with the clients that you want to spend your time with. It's easy. It's easy. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's, you know, you, it can be easy to get a client roster of people you really don't want to work with. And so if you have the business development practice in place, you can replace those accounts with people you really click with, that you can add the most value to, and that you can enjoy the most working with.
Yeah, super, super. Hey, listen, before I get to the last question here, I almost forgot. Mark, if there is somebody that's watching this video today that wants to get in touch with you, how would you like them to do that?
Yeah, you can certainly go to our website, which is teambuildersearch.com, just how it sounds, 3 words, teambuildersearch.com. There's a contact form there. My email is my first initial M, last name Whitman, Whitman, at teambuildersearch.com. That's a great way to get hold of me as well.
Super. And here's the cleanup question for today, Mark. What most inspires you?
It's funny because you go through seasons of life, Rick, and different things inspire you. I lost my dad about 3 years ago, and he was just a person who made everybody better around him. And now, after losing my dad, I've got to spend a lot more time with my mom, and she's journeyed through the loneliness of losing a spouse of 60 some years, and then battling through. She's 87, so she's health issues, battling through health issues, and she just continues to battle and move forward. And she's sorry, I get kind of choked up because she's a hero to me.
Thank you for sharing that. I fully understand. I've got similar relations, and yeah, sometimes it's sad that it takes a passing for us to really recognize how precious people are, family is, relationships are, and how we could and can be doing those better. So thank you for sharing that, Mark. That was very, very moving. And Mark, thank you again for joining us today. Um, and thank you, audience, for watching this. Again, I highly encourage you, save this with this interview with Mark, and come back and take a look at it again, because he has absolutely given us some great golden nuggets. So folks, make it a great day, and bye for now.